So good afternoon, everyone. We really appreciate you all joining us today for this webinar about the upcoming transition. We hope that it provides useful information for you about the upcoming transition to our new delivery platform and provides some clarity for you about what's coming in the next few weeks and what you can expect moving forward. Today, our goal is to provide you with a demonstration of the new platform, but really focusing in on the proctoring experience specifically. After the demonstration, we'll have a question and answer session so that hopefully we can answer any questions that you might have during the demonstration. Just a few considerations for today. First off, these sessions are being recorded and we will post them on the PAEA website in the assessment section when finished today. We are also anticipating some questions. So if you do have one that comes up, we ask that you type your question into the question and answer feature on the bottom of the Zoom panel, and we'll address all of them at once at the completion of the demonstration. Additionally, we'll compile all of the written questions that are asked in the question and answer, and then we'll answer them in writing and post them on our website following the webinar, just in the case that we don't get to every question live today. We also wanted to emphasize that PAEA will be here to support you in any way possible to ensure this transition is smooth for everyone. Please continue to open our weekly emails, as this is the primary way information and updates will be shared with you. Today specifically has a lot of new information, so please look for that email to come through this afternoon. There are 2 more webinars scheduled, as one is a more general overview of the platform, and that'll take place on March 9th, and another proctoring webinar on March 11th. So if you're interested in attending the general overview, or if you'd like to attend the proctoring webinar again for any reason, please go ahead and register on our website under the Assessment Center resources page. And lastly, you're always welcome to contact us via email, and we'll be very happy to provide answers to any questions that you might have. So from here, I will turn it over to Emily to start the demonstration.
Great, thanks, Amanda. We are, again, going to be focusing primarily on proctoring and primarily in-person proctoring, but I wanted to give you a few notes of overview before we get started. First off, is the most basic question is who can proctor exams in the new system? We do have some new specialized roles, so I wanted to go ahead and explain those to you for up top. First off, we have a proctor user role, which is similar to what we had previously, but it's a kind of standalone role. Proctoring is the only responsibility that they have in the assessment hub. They cannot adjust a student or student's information, such as accommodations, or schedule an exam. This is not additive. It is their role is proctoring. Instead, we have a comprehensive assessment hub user, which is for key faculty and staff like your clinical team, who can do everything within the assessment hub. And that includes updating student information and schedules, so accommodations and making sure they're in the right exam, reviewing and downloading and releasing score reports, as well as proctoring. So I'll run through the member community components on this in a bit, but just wanted to kind of give that as a baseline. And then a quick overview of our 3 exam delivery types. These are largely unchanged, but we do have a couple of key updates. The first and most commonly used delivery type is the in-person exam, and this is exams that take place at a set time. So you indicate the date and the time when students are to report for the exam. Secure browser is required for these exams. We've picked a new platform vendor that has a very trustworthy and reliable secure browser that is consistent across device types, so PCs, Macs, and iPads, and has a long history of operating with all those 3 device types. It kind of works with the operating system's own tools, so it's not downloading and sitting on top of everything on your computer and trying to control it that way. It's actually working with your device to lock down the computer. So we're really excited about this innovation. We expect a lot less stress for proctors in particular, and a smoother exam experience for students. The unproctored or remote secure delivery exams will also require secure browser. these exams are scheduled for a date range, so multi-day or a single day, so that students can take the exams when their schedules allow. These students will log in with a registration code that is sent to them via email. Finally, we have remote proctored exams, which are also scheduled over a date range, but intended to be used with a third-party remote proctoring service so that secure browser is not required and applicable. These students will be relying on monitoring within the device, the third-party remote proctoring service, own screen sharing and monitoring tools. And those folks will log in with a registration code that you, the faculty, will provide to the remote proctor, who will then provide to the students so that they can start the exam once they're in the required environment. So gone are the days of key codes and pins. What we have instead are session codes for in-person exams and registration codes for unproctored and remote proctored exams. And I'll show you what all those are as we get into the demonstration, but just wanted to let you know of the terminology change and how that is going to happen. And so with that, I'm going to switch over to demonstration mode. So pardon me for turning away to my second monitor. The way you'll access the assessment center is going to be the same as in the current system. So from the PAEA website, you'll access the member community here. We also have it in the assessment dropdown right here. So both of these will send you to the assessment or to the member community login. While I have this open, I want to make sure to point out a couple of new resources that are going to be coming to you in the email very soon. If it's not there now, it will be by the end of the session. We have a Proctor resources page here that has a quick guide for proctoring, and then sample instructions for setting up a remote proctored session, as well as proctor scripts for all three delivery types. So these kind of walk you and students through that experience. We also are getting ready to post our user guide in the Assessment Center resources here. So we can get back to that later. So I want to continue plugging on with the demonstration. So I am logged into our test environment for the member community here. We have some updates within the member roster to designate who is a proctor. So I'm going to update our existing users. And then you have the option to add assessment permissions to members of your program roster, so your faculty and staff who receive PAEA benefits, or you can have assessment-only users who only have assessment roles. So this is folks like your testing center team, if you have an accommodations office that helps you with testing. These folks are not on your PAEA roster and do not receive benefits such as forum registration and things like that. But they do receive all critical PAEA emails if there's any technical issues or information that they need to know. So I'm going to click on the program roster, and I'm going to update one of my faculty users. And you'll see here we have a new drop-down to indicate our roles related to assessment. So again, the Assessment Hub user is your comprehensive assessment-related permissions, so they can proctor exams as well as edit student information, schedule exams, and view score reports. For those testing center team members or an individual on your team who just occasionally proctors exams and doesn't really do anything else with the system, that might be the person you want to assign a proctor role to. And then we also have a new score report user role for folks who do data analysis. So once all your roles are set up, we will be inviting adjustments to these roles on March 9th, or the week of March 9th. But once those roles are assigned, you access the assessment center in the same way. But you'll notice we only have the two options, the assessment shop and then the assessment hub. No longer do we have multiple environments. Everything for delivering exams is in the assessment hub menu. So this is our test environment, so everything moves just a little bit slow. So I'm just going to tab right over into our new assessment hub. So I am logged in as our program director user here. Um, just kind of walking you through the tabs here. We covered this in depth in our general webinar, which is posted to the website, and you'll be notified soon. We have the inventory to check your exam credits, the student information tab here. And one important thing related to proctoring that I want to share with you guys is that the accommodations are now on the student's profile. So you can see here, this student is assigned with double time. So what this means for you is that all your students are going to be in a single exam event. It's important for scheduling, but also for proctoring so that you're not managing 14 events or 21 events, you're only doing 7 on an EOR callback day. The student exam box page is pretty straightforward as far as managing those credits. And then I'm going to stop again in the scheduling tab. You'll see here I just have a few exams set up. I'm going to click into my emergency medicine exam here, and you can see that I have students scheduled for all different accommodation types. You'll want to schedule exam events if the students have the same test date and time and the same additional instructions. So if a student needs to report to a separate location like the testing center or a separate room, you might want to schedule them for a separate exam event so that they can be then in a separate proctoring session. But that's totally up to you and how you manage that communication with your students. Again, you do have the option of starting the students early anytime on that test day, but just to avoid confusion, our recommendation is to make sure that the students are getting accurate information in their confirmation emails. You have the ability to resend email information at any point to these students if they've missed that, but they will also get reminders. While I am in this demo, I want to make sure that we touch on how you're going to manage your unproctored and remote proctored exams. So I've got an unproctored exam set up here. So for unproctored exams, students are sent everything that they need to set up their device for the exam and also to log in. So they get that registration code and email address instruction within their emails. So if they've misplaced that, you can resend the email here, and you can also download the registration code for them to share that with them to take their test if they're not getting their emails for some reason. For remote proctored exams, this is going to be a little more active for you. Basically, since remote proctored exams are not administered in Secure Client, it's really important that the students not be given what they need to begin the exam until they are in their secured environment. So the process is that you need to make sure that you download the registration codes, which I have downloaded here. It's just this kind of random generated code for each student, and you need to provide that to your proctor, the remote proctoring service. So I'm told that most remote proctoring services have a field for you to provide that password to the service along with instructions. So here on the Proctor resources page again, we have sample instructions for setting up a remote proctored exam. And then this is a script to read kind of the requirements of the session that the proctor will then read to the students. The same goes, you have a couple of options if you administer exams via Zoom or Teams with a faculty proctor. If you prefer to use screen sharing, so if you're sharing screens with the student and using the webcam, you'll want to use the remote proctored option. If you are able to use a second device, so if the student sets up their phone or an iPad or something off to the side so that you can monitor the whole environment, in that case, we recommend that you use the in-person proctored option. So that is kind of the rundown of the different delivery types. So now it's test day, so we will go on to proctoring. So here in the proctoring tab, again, anyone with proctor permissions has this. So that's the proctor role or assessment hub users. And this is how you will monitor student progress and authorize your in-person students to begin. So all you do to set up your session is on test day. You can't do this in advance. It has to be the same day as the test. You just enter any name that makes sense to you, whether that's a room number or the proctor's name or something like that. And then you select the tests that you want to be included in your exam session. So I'm going to select these. And then you create your session. And from here, I'm actually going to go back to a different session because I gave my colleagues some instructions in advance. So I'm going to go back to webinar 2. So basically, any Proctor user does have the ability to toggle between any of these available sessions. So if you're tag teaming with one of your colleagues for proctoring an exam, you both can access the same proctoring session. It doesn't have to be the same person who scheduled the exam, and students are not assigned to a proctoring session until test day. So scheduling and proctoring are kind of separate as far as who launches those processes. So we're going to go to webinar 2 session. And I see I've got 2 of my colleagues in here waiting for me. And I am going to be a third person. So side by side here, when your students enter the testing room, you'll want to give them this session number. Then they will open secure browser, which obviously I'm not doing here because that would kick me out of the Zoom. They'll click the Start in-person test session here. And they will enter that session number. So I'm going to do that here. And I am acting as student 22. So well, if I type my email address right, that would be great. And then this is what the student sees when they are waiting for you. So from here, you can approve individual students or deny them. So if there's something wrong with their exam event for any reason, or if they've had to leave the room, you deny them and then they come back. Or you can approve them all. So I'm going to approve myself or approve that person and then approve everyone else. So what you see here is, looks like we have a completed exam. Okay, so what you can see here is each of the students who are testing. So you can see which exam they're taking and where they're at in the test. So we've got a student with double time who is progressing through their exam. So this student is on the tutorial. We've got another student who has started answering questions. So you can see they're on question 5 here. And if you'll see in this little pop-up, you can see how many questions they've answered and how much time they have remaining. So this is time remaining in each section. And then you can see this one here at the bottom is me. So since I'm still on the welcome screen, it's got my whole test remaining. But you can see me moving. See, I'm on the NDA, I'm on the examinee agreement now. And I'm going to click here. And then students have the option to review a 10-minute tutorial before they take the test. So they have 10 minutes to get through these pages that kind of walk them through the test screen. This is going to be present before every exam, but it's also in our practice test, which we're emailing to you this afternoon. But you can see that I am there. Um, so we have our students going here. Can I have Simone, can you end your section and go to the break? So you can see here, we had Simone end a little early, and you can tell that she is in her break. Each exam has a 10-minute break between sections, and the student has the option to skip that if they want. So if you want to go ahead and end your break, and you can see now that she's on the second section with her total 2 hours remaining on her double time exam. So you can see Amanda has continued to answer questions in the first section here. I'm also going to go ahead and pause myself here. You have the ability to pause an individual student if they need to take an unscheduled break, they have an accommodation for that or something. And you have the ability to pause all your students at once if there's some sort of emergency, like a fire alarm or something like that. When that happens, you just click pause. It asks you to confirm that, and it kicks the student out of the test completely. So it will close them out of secure client, and they will have to come back in again, entering the session number so that they are again tied to you as a proctor, and enter their information again. So test UAT22 at paonline.org, student 22. And you can see that I am now waiting for approval again. And we are right where we left off, both on time and within the section. So I'm not at the beginning of the tutorial anymore. Students can also, if they need to switch rooms for any reason, you pause them and then start up the session for their other room if they're having technical issues, for instance. They would just enter that new session and number, and the proctor of that space would authorize them to begin. You can also add additional exams to a proctor session here by clicking Modify and adding additional exams. So now these students as well are available to begin my test. You can review who you're expecting for those sessions by clicking this little number. It'll just be a little pop-up to show which students, what their accommodations are, and things like that. Yeah, so that is the key components of the proctoring section. Simone, do you want to go, or either of you or both of you want to complete your exams? So you can see Simone has just completed her exam. If you are not proctoring, but want to just keep tabs on your students, and also for remote proctored and unproctored exams, you can review the status in the scheduling tab. So you can see Amanda completed her exam at 3:24 p.m. The other two haven't started yet. So this is how you can monitor those unproctored and remote proctored exams as well. You do not have the ability to pause unproctored and remote proctored exams. If they close the browser, that will stop their clock and save their progress because nothing is downloaded to their exam or to their computer, and just start where they left off. But so that's how you do that piece. And that is kind of the basics of the proctoring session. Please keep an eye out and read in full our Thursday emails. And also keep your eye on the PAE assessment resources pages that we have there. We're kind of posting stuff as it's finished and letting you know about it on Thursdays. So we've done our Q&A, and Thank you very much for hanging out with us today. If you have any additional questions, comments, or feedback, you can reach out to us at exams@paeaonline.org.